Hello friends, so you're interested in STALKER 2 or Anomaly, but you don't know the first thing about the series and you're worried it might affect your good times with the game. Or maybe you played the originals too long ago and don't remember much.
Get out of here, Stalker.
Worry not, here's everything you need to know to feel right at home in the zone when you give it a try. Alright, so what is STALKER? STALKER is a classic game series back from 2007. It wasn't super popular in the West at the time, but it gathered a devout following and heavily influenced the industry. It's the godfather of an entire genre of games and countless others draw inspiration from it to some extent. It had a big revival in popularity after the standalone mods got some online notoriety. And now STALKER 2 is about to come out 15 years after the last one, and it's getting much more mainstream attention than the originals ever did, drawing even more people new to the series. But not everyone has the time or patience to play through this janky ass 17-year-old game. I get it. I just really like them, you know? You don't. So, if you haven't played them before, or if you just want to freshen up your memory, what's it all about? It's an open world game set in the fictional Chernobyl, Ukraine. Yes, that one, with the nuclear plant and all. In this world, there was a mysterious second disaster after the nuclear plant meltdown, and the Chernobyl exclusion zone became known as just the zone. Even if it sounds like a greasy nightclub in the early 2000s. The Ukrainian army cordoned off this zone with a nuclear power plant at its center, and nobody's supposed to get in or out. Come on, you're clearly a high schooler. That's a fake ID. You're not getting in. The outside world starts getting rumors about this place. Flashing lights in the sky. Horribly mutated creatures. Artifacts with strange physical and chemical properties. What's going on in there? Well, in the zone, the laws of physics have been bent beyond human comprehension. This makes it an alien, fascinating place of unprecedented scientific value, and also a giant fucking death trap with death or worse around every corner. Impossible anomalies in space-time, mutant predatorial creatures, unexplained psychological phenomena. Take a wrong step into one of these anomalies and you might get put into a spatial paradox, your skin melted by an impossibly corrosive substance, turned into barbecue, or acquire severe clinical mental illness. The zone leaves its mark in the body, mind, and soul of any human who dares venture into it. Often more than just a mark. But hey, remember that unprecedented scientific value? Damn, Mr. Scientist, all that cash for some really spicy anal beads? Sign me right up. Scientists and companies all over the world started paying top dollar for anomalous artifacts and samples and readings and stuff from inside the zone. Mostly the artifacts. The government-sponsored expeditions were never gonna keep up with that, which naturally spawned an entire clandestine economy around it. Joe Schmo, we're in Ukraine, Shevchenko, I'm sorry, that was terrible, I'm taking this out of the video. A resourceful individual looking for some fat stacks started illegally sneaking into the zone to find these artifacts and stuff to sell to the right buyers. Mr. Chenko here was colloquially called a stalker. Roll credits. Eventually, this economy grew to the point that the zone had a semi-permanent small population of illegal inhabitants. What's the Ukrainian army doing in the meantime? Well, they have their own missions to worry about, and it's a big perimeter. There's only so many high schoolers the bouncer can catch sneaking in. So eventually, the army just chills, protects its scientists, takes bribes, and shoots anyone who comes too close. This dude is not paid enough to chase some homeless guy with an AK into the death trap that is the zone. And just like that, the zone becomes our setting. Skilled traders set up shop. They have connections with the military and the outside world to make sure they can smuggle things in and out, supplying stalkers with what they need for their expeditions and getting their fruits of their exploited labor out to the right buyers. We're a real business now. Bandit groups start popping up to prey on that poor vulnerable labor too. You can't have shit in the zone. Techniques for zone exploration become widespread, like throwing bolts ahead of you to see if you're about to step into an anomaly that will give you testicular torsion or something. Custom-made equipment is manufactured for zone needs. Safe settlements are established. Stalkers figure out how to use artifacts' properties to their advantage. There's even a bar. A horde of fanatical stalkers kills anyone who tries to get to their sacred monolith at the center. Wait, what? Okay, we'll get back to that one in a bit. Factions invested in the zone and its future established themselves in their operations. Let's take a look at the big ones real quick. First, the ecologists, scientists funded by the Ukrainian government, specialized in getting obliterated by mutant dogs every time they step out of their mobile labs. Duty, a paramilitary group founded by ex-militaries that believe that the zone is an abomination that will destroy the world. Thus, they're determined to protect humanity from it while they figure out how to destroy it. They do this mostly by getting obliterated by mutant dogs every time they step out of Rostock. Freedom, who are like one with the zone, man. I believe we should all just coexist with the zone, man. This shit's great. They believe the zone can't be destroyed and it would actually be beneficial to humankind, so they're against the government cover-up and monopoly over its resources. They act upon this by sitting around smoking weeds all day and actually doing the hard work keeping Monolith at bay. What's the Monolith? We'll get back to that one in a bit. So, due to the obvious conflict and ideologies, Duty and Freedom are in a constant war with each other. Trained mercenaries also move in, carrying out special missions for mysterious entities. They're just, like, kinda there. Then you got the Bandits and the Loners, who are not really factions, but more a conglomerate of like-minded individuals making a living in the zone. zone, the difference being who's the meanie and who's nice. The thing about the zone that is impossible to convey just talking about it is its unique atmosphere. This is what keeps everyone coming back to these games. It's dreary, lonely, grim, hopeless, but with an inescapable draw filled with wonder and fascination. And in the face of all that, an unmatched comfort in reaching the safety of a campfire with fellow stalkers. After a long day dodging anomalies, stalkers gather around campfires to play music and trade their stories. In the zone, any of them could be true. There's this big one about a wish granter deep in the center of the zone in the power plant that grants the wish of anyone who can reach it. But nobody can confirm that one because you can't get there. There's a big structure stalkers call the brain scorcher on the way. Most who wander inside its range lose their minds, turning into not much more than a wild beast, shooting at anything inside. Others are taken by the Monolith. A faction of quasi-religious cultists who believe in the existence of a holy crystal monolith somewhere in the center of the zone. Monolith soldiers will give their lives to protect it. They are organized and coherent, which is what makes them so dangerous. Cognitive ability of a functional human being, but the endless, selfless determination of an emotionless husk to fulfill their purpose. If they run out of ammo, they'll just charge enemies with their knives, no matter how wounded. If captured, they'll just bash their heads against the wall until they die before giving away any information. The monolith seems to speak to them and give visions of its power, purpose, and glory. Most stalkers know someone who converted to the monolith, and even the bravest of them fear that they could be the next one to hear its voice. Also, even if you don't believe the wish granter, there's gotta be a bunch of cash money artifacts over there where nobody has managed to pick the zone clean, or some scientific insight into the secrets of the zone. So for various reasons, everyone wants to figure out how to go beyond the brain scorcher. Oh yeah, also there's the emissions or blowouts where a burst of some zone energy is released coming from the power plant. Anyone who gets caught outdoors, it's a terrible way to go. And the zone is filled with abandoned underground laboratories with a bunch of mutated experiments and stuff. What's up with that? That's it, that's our setting. Now, if this piqued your interest, you can go and play the first game, Shadow of Chernobyl, to explore and discover the secrets of the zone yourself. Slap on some mods to cover up the janky old game smell and have a go. It's a great mystery to unravel. However, if you don't care and would just like everything spoiled so you can jump onto Stalker 2 or the Anomaly mod No Condom, here's the zone knowledge you'll be missing from the first 3 games. I won't be going through the entire plot of the games, otherwise this video would have been too long and you wouldn't have clicked it. Instead, I'll focus on the world building uncovered through their narratives. So here's Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. The whole game happens, blah blah blah, who cares I guess. But in the end, Mr. s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s here, a legendary stalker at this point, after repeated attempts to reach the center of the zone, turns off the brain scorcher, opening the way for everyone. The gold rush begins as experienced stalkers from all factions push in. A massive battle breaks out between Monolith, desperately trying to get everyone off their lawn, the army seizing its chance to figure out what the f*** is going on with Operation Monolith, a push to the power plant, and basically everyone else trying to get there, trying to reach the Gucci untouched artifacts first, or for any other reason. Suddenly, a massive emission breaks out, throwing the wet towel on everyone's fun. s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s just barely makes it into the sarcophagus before it hits. Now he's inside of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, dead center of the zone. Resisting the voice of the monolith, he pushes through waves of its soldiers, hoping to learn what the zone has been hiding from everyone. It's a green hologram, dude. This dude explains the big bad secrets of the zone. Turns out the nuclear disaster creating an evacuated zone was the perfect place for Soviet scientists to set up labs to make their sketchy experiments in peace. When the Soviet Union fell, most of the projects got abandoned, but the most dedicated ones kept going under the pretense of agricultural research in the Agroprom Research Institute. They also didn't bother to keep the Ukrainian government in the loop. Now we can really do our sketchy experiments in peace. They stumbled onto things like the psi radiation, psychic weapons, mind control and stuff, and eventually into the Noosphere. In their words, a
special informational field. It includes all the inhabitants of the planet with cognitive abilities.
That's it. That's all they say about it in the game, and it just sounds like words. Probably because they didn't want the ending to turn into a lecture. But hey, I don't have that problem, so I'm gonna go into where the philosophical concept, the word Noosphere, comes from. I think it gives more meaning to what comes next, but keep in mind that what the writers mean by it could deviate from this. Anyway, the Noosphere, analogous to the geosphere and the biosphere, is a concept, an abstract layer containing all collective human experience. Think about how the human mind is a collective. Its feelings, experiences, and knowledge shapes the world around it. The Noosphere is an abstraction to help think about that collective mind of humanity and the directions it leads us. Like if somehow nobody invented gunpowder so that knowledge didn't pop into the Noosphere, or if nobody ever felt a particular emotion, think how different the world and the things on it would have been this whole time. This is from a philosophy book somewhere, bro. It's super deep, bro. Trust me, you wouldn't get it. Anyway, the scientists here found out that the Noosphere is an actual, real, tangible thing that exists and stuff. Like an invisible layer of the world our minds are all tuned into, and they confirm through experiments that they're able to interact with it. Now, what if we could carefully reach into the Noosphere and just delete negative human mental aspects like cruelty, greed, and stuff? We're gonna save the world so hard, bro. But one human mind can't really hope to affect the Noosphere on a global scale like that. We need more like 7. So they build a big machine that joins 7 of their minds together, thus forming the common consciousness, or C consciousness. This is terrible acronym. It takes out the word with the least syllables and leaves the biggest one untouched. Who came up with this? Anyway, the big day comes to attempt their experiment, and they f***ed it up. They f***ed it up so badly that instead of doing what they intended, they open a crack, a rift in the Noosphere. Thus, the zone came to be. The zone is simply the visible, physical manifestation of that crack in the Noosphere, creating a place where physical laws are less like laws and more like polite suggestions. The implication, in my humble understanding, being that reality is only as real as the human perception of reality, and the zone is a place where there's an oozing wound in that perception, resulting in nothing working the way humanity understands reality should work. Now, the zone is just a visible manifestation of this crack, so don't worry, it's only much worse than it looks.
The underlying problem is far greater than you can imagine.
Ever since then, the C consciousness is doing everything it can to contain the zone and the rift in the Noosphere and undo its cataclysmic fuck up. Thing is, at the same time, people and the military have been trying to get to the center of the zone to figure out what the fuck is going on. And in their words,
humanity is not ready for the truth.
If the outside world and politicians and generals get involved and there's mass hysteria because of what they know, maybe because of the effects it will have on the Noosphere, who knows? Anyway, they won't be able to fix this mess and everyone's so they gotta keep people out by any means necessary. They use the missions which are necessary to disperse excess Noosphere energy strategically to murder anyone trying to get close. They also use several psi emitters like the Brain Scorcher to fabricate the illusion of the Monolith, promising stalkers fulfillment of all their most coveted desires, showing visions of glory and grandeur, luring them into the range of these emitters only to be brainwashed and mind-controlled into becoming the deadly Monolith soldiers, fanatical in their purpose to keep anyone away from their sacred monument. That or just zombies, which are also under their control. Also, they would program agents to infiltrate the stalker community and carry out their orders without even realizing it. These agents were marked with a coded acronym and sent back to the zone via these death trucks. Okay, so what now? Well, the bodies in the C-Con are still aging and they could use a new member with an intact brain. It's not like they can just let s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s walk out of here either. So he gets the option to join the C-Consciousness and help them contain the zone and save the world. But that's not what actually happens. s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s decides he's, quote, not going to help you in this deception, and fights through the best Monolith soldiers, going through teleporter anomalies until he reaches the machine holding the scientists. He goes ooga booga and shoots them with his gun. Then he lays in the grass thinking, I don't know if I did the right thing or not, but I'm alive. The end. Now, okay, there are several ethical and moral interpretations of this ending. People argue over it to this day. But I don't know, it's kind of funny to me. It's like a monkey trying to fix a computer with a hammer. I don't know, anyway, moving on. STALKER c.e.r.s. c.e.r.s are a secretive, independent faction dedicated to researching and understanding the zone. But unlike the ecologists, they're not afraid to use force to achieve their goals. Lebedev, Kalancha, and Suslav here were actually part of the research team that originated the C consciousness. So it makes sense that everyone says they're the ones who understand the zone the most, even more than the government and the stalkers combined. But that's the leadership. The troops mostly don't know what's going on. They just trust that they do. This one is a prequel to Shadow of Chernobyl, set just before the events of the first game. The zone was going through an alarming rate of emissions, and the c.e.r.s leadership knows this is because someone is going places they shouldn't be. But they believe that these emissions are causing the zone to become unstable, like a fever getting out of control, and this could lead to a second and much worse disaster. They want to stop the naughty boy doing this so the zone can go back to its balance again. To do this, they enlist the help of a mercenary named Scar. This dude has an ability to survive emissions that defy scientific explanation, but they say his nervous system will break down if they keep happening, so he's gotta help them out for his own good. The whole game happens, blah blah blah, who cares I guess. They managed to chase s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s all the way to the power plant and stop him with the whole leadership present, expecting the zone to finally chill out. Psych, the biggest emission hits and everyone involved is either dead or brainwashed. Oh wait, how does s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s survive? We don't have time for this. Go play Shadow of Chernobyl to find out. Okay, last one. Stalker, Call of Pripyat. Set after Shadow of Chernobyl, we get to know how things turned out. The zone is zony itself just fine, so good job, Bozo, I guess. Things are pretty much the same with 3 exceptions. 1, emissions happen every few days now, just deal with it. 2, the areas past the Brain Scorcher, while very dangerous, now see regular stalker traffic with some establishments like the Skadovsk and the Yanov station popping up even. This is because 3, Monolith is losing power. Monolith has abandoned its children. They can no longer hear its voice, save perhaps for a few key figures somehow, even though they are still powerless to overcome their brainwashing. It's pretty tragic, actually. So they fight on, still keeping full control of the power plant and maintaining some presence in the surrounding area, which is what makes it so dangerous. However, a few rare cases have managed to break free from the brainwashing and return to Stalker society, like Strider and his squad, though they are obviously changed and scarred forever. The actual game is about Major Dektyaryev from the Ukrainian Special Service going into the zone zone undercover as a stalker. Operation Fairway was launched not long after the failure of Operation Monolith, that one that got caught in the emission while s.t.a.l.k.e.r.s was having a pleasant chat with the sea consciousness. Like everything else the Ukrainian military seems to do in the zone, it failed miserably. Helicopters carrying Spetsnaz troops were the first step of the operation and they lost contact with those. Mr. Dektyarov here was sent to find out what happened. The whole gang happens, blah blah, you know the drill. He finds the survivors and holds off against the Monolith. But hey, look who shows up, it's s.t.a.l.k.E.R.s.
My name is s.t.a.l.k.E.R.s.
Unable to find any closure and unsure of what to do next, he wants to go tell the Ukrainian government everything that happened in the power plant, though it might be convenient to leave out his double-digit military body count. He also tells Dektyarov why the helicopters crashed. The anomalies move around every time there's an emission, so their anomaly maps were terribly obsolete when the operation launched. Oops. They get extracted, s.t.a.l.k.E.R.s spills the beans. The Ukrainian government creates the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl anomalous area. They make him its chief scientific consultant. Fancy. Dektyarov gets a nice promotion but refuses a desk job and instead requests to go back to the zone, becoming the security service's permanent observer in there. That's it. Like, subscribe, comment something, and go have fun with Stalker 2. Bye.
Завязывай, ладно? Надоело.
Кончай уже, Рихтер.